Hey, it's Venetia reporting live from the couch fort. I know I said I'd take a break, but I have some things on my mind that I would like to share today. And so here it is. 2020 is big time single parent energy. You want to know why? Because trying to be a nurturer and provider simultaneously is one of the hardest fucking things. I was sorting through some of my own stuff this morning as I was laying in bed before my first cup of coffee, which is usually a pretty big fucking deal for me. And I realized, after wondering why the fuck am I so tired, especially doing something that I love, and why do I inevitably get tired doing the things that I love? It's because for so much of my life, I placed value in what I could provide and how I could nurture without being nurtured or provided for. Because that is just how I've witnessed and experienced human bondage. And I realize now, as I continuously work to break through, and from that, I realize that sometimes I still fall into that space of a willingness to provide and nurture because of this inevitability that we're going to enter a place of discomfort, a place of growth. I have a problem with the concept of safe spaces simply because where is the room for that discomfort? That honest, authentic discomfort. Because I haven't been witness to that in many safe spaces. Instead, some of these safe spaces feel like clubs, feel like other oppressive pockets of healing that I just won't subscribe to. I really, truly feel that discomfort and uncomfortable conversations are the keys that open up to those safe or safer spaces. Because one of the reasons I feel not a lot of people are ready to enter those types of spaces is because they're stuck in one of those roles of nurturing or providing. And so they take that personally. And we should be more willing to play around with the roles we've assigned ourselves and play around with the roles that perhaps we feel incapable of playing. For a true sense of discovery through discomfort. And I realized, looking back at a lot of the spaces in which I felt bitter, in which I felt resentment or anger toward a situation or an individual or a group, has stemmed from the amount that I was expected to provide and care for, without being provided or cared for reciprocally or in a reciprocal fashion. And it's like, how deep has our transactional system hurt us and programmed us and conditioned us to continue to oppress ourselves and to hurt others and to hurt ourselves and to deplete our resources, our divine resources, time, energy, our bodies. And I realized, I left film because it was one of those places where a lot of violent mining of people's personal divine resources, where that takes place. And I entered this sphere, I entered this world doing this work to help others, to fuel my passion of being more embodied, more self-aware, the ability to live life, to create a life. And I realize, even in this space, you're working off of people's weaknesses, or they're working off of yours. And sometimes that relationship is so symbiotic and so elegantly balanced that you can't notice that core issue, that sore spot, where you are praying and being preyed upon. And I realize this is a really good space for people to work in who want to feel needed, who want to provide something, who desire to feel useful. And so maybe I worked myself into this space of just needing to take a break, because that's what I'm working on, and I realize that. But at the same time, I'm shifting it to where if you need something from me, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be exactly what you need. It's not going to be something that feeds into my deeper personal needs. And so through this work, I've learned really good boundaries. I've learned about myself, I've always stepped into this space knowing I don't want someone to work with me for years and years on end. I don't want someone to be reliant upon me, because then I'm not doing a good job. Then I know that I am not doing a good job in what I've set out to accomplish, to achieve, and in doing right by my clients. Because I'm willing to step into those more uncomfortable places. I'm willing to provide those hot takes. But at the same time, I deserve respect. I deserve what I require to step in and to do that work and to open up those types of spaces. And I realize even in this work, it's some type of commodity for people, where they thirst for it, but they don't recognize the value in it because it's still a means to bypass and to avoid that deeper pain, that sore spot, that blind spot. That root cause of what makes them feel broken, what makes them uncomfortable, and the fact that there aren't enough people here willing to step into that space with them. I've put myself on the line so many times to help people and support them with some of their most deepest spaces still requiring attention and integration. And it's like, to be aware of oneself means to be aware of all of the parts of ourselves. And I realized in this year, it's become so difficult for people to ignore those spots, but the ways in which we respond to them still aren't conducive to embodiment, aren't conducive to stable integration. Which leads me to my other point of ascension, awakening. And the fact that a lot of people are experiencing that and have been experiencing it and continue to experience it. And when they hit this really, really high point, that in itself becomes addictive. It becomes a drug. It becomes escapism. It becomes a space to bypass all of the lower things. And so those people just end up even farther away from that goal of embodiment, that goal of active balance, of centering, that is crucial to living out a most divine human experience. Because people ask me when they reach that point, it's like, well, what now? I don't know what to do. What is my purpose? Your purpose is to live. Your purpose now is to create in these spaces and to help hold that frequency, to hold that frequency in such a way that it makes people uncomfortable. So they shift with you, so they become more self-aware, become more embodied and integrated. Your presence should be a conversation starter. Even though sometimes it just feels like a room clearer. Like, boy, I can clear a room. And I smile and I say all these things just because I'm so in awe of just how interesting all of this is. And the ways in which I fooled myself and the ways in which others fool themselves. The ways in which this space operates, still perpetuating and supporting these systems that a lot of these people and spaces claim to be dismantling. If we are contributing to war of any kind, we are not dismantling anything. We are not healing anything. We are still perpetuating an old paradigm. We are still a cog in an outmoded machine. Make that shift from analog to digital. Become a signal. Hold a frequency. Be that buzzing in someone's fucking ear. Remember when I said a couple weeks ago, y'all aren't gonna like what's coming, what I'm up to? We've been uncomfortable for a good part of this year, and for a good while even before that. But when will we stop complaining and become more aware of those parts of us that are still the loudest? Recognizing what they're attempting to cover up, who they're attempting to cover up. And it's so funny, what triggered this yesterday for me, and I don't like that word triggered. I don't enjoy that word. I don't enjoy what it's become for a lot of people and the consciousness surrounding that word in terms of guns, in terms of trauma. Because it's still, there's still a lot of terminology within this space that continues to victimize people instead of empower them. And being sensitive doesn't make us weak. Being sensitive allows us to respond to something much sooner than if we were quote unquote stronger. If we were more desensitized, which that's a problem. So I don't like the word triggered. But what initiated this thought process, this feeling process, this experience that I'm now sharing with you all, is I was thinking about 2020, and my initial thought wasn't 2020 is like what, single parenting feels like, because we're all trying to learn how to be our own father or mother, or parent of any type. Maturing. No, but I was considering the election, of course, and the archetypes and representations of toxic masculinity that come in many shapes and forms here. And I was considering, our astrology, just trying to find connection points and overlap, because if everything's connected, then let's play with it, right? And I was considering the fact that Jupiter and Pluto are going to be conjunct mid-month. Jupiter and Saturn are going to be conjunct in December. And a little Chiron on the other side, kind of like watching all of this. But it's like, it's interesting because even with our own politics, we have 3 guys and one female. And granted, we can go on all day about all of the problematic things we can bring up on all sides, right? But it's so funny. It's so funny because it's like, how does the Empress need to show up when the Emperor is no longer in the picture, or when the Emperor is incapacitated? What happens in terms of these roles, in terms of this consciousness, when it's picking up the slack for the other, yet still trying to maintain what's already in their court, what's already on their list of responsibilities. And it's like, who nurtures the nurturer? Who provides for the provider? It's like, what we fail to recognize is that even people, even consciousness, even when we're in these roles, someone else also can fulfill that role for us. If we can receive that, instead of making it feel like we're not doing enough with our responsibilities. Allowing us to be in an exchange, to not allow ourselves to fall into a place where everything feels transactional, where everything is transactional. And sometimes there are just certain ways that we've had to be in order to make up for some of the extra responsibility that's been thrust upon us. And just simply attempting to maintain. So, anyways, discomfort. This month is going to be putting us through a lot of discomfort. The things that perhaps we aren't willing to take on, but are on the pathway to our highest place of fulfillment. Because that's the truth of the matter. And it is required for us to learn that what we desire, our trajectory, holds a lot of truth. Some of which we may never feel prepared for, but we must move through it, because then that's what allows us to be prepared. Yes. But if you can allow yourself the grace to feel safe in discomfort, to ride high on that wave of fear, that is what it feels like to be alive. And when we learn to trust ourselves, and when we step into a space of true self-awareness, are we able to not only be in that space, but to gracefully navigate, to maintain that active force of balance, of centering, to make it through. So that is what I have for you all today. I'm going to continue to take a break, but I was prompted to just have this moment with you all. So thank you. And, please consider supporting me. Consider donating. Consider, opening up a space of conversation in the comments. Consider booking a 30-minute session with me. Ask for what you need, and I'll let you know if I'm available. But be willing to step into a space that is actually meant for breaking us open so we may expand. Because in that expansion, you gotta break the shell. You gotta you know, emerge. It's so funny. This whole year, I've just been seeing eggs, 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 eggs. Even in a dream, I was in a projection room with stacks of dozens and dozens of eggs, and they were all hard-boiled, which was funny. In my job, no one was there, but I just knew my job was to sit and help crack all those shells. And so I think that's just what I'm doing in this work, is like, let me help you crack your shell. Let me help you crack your shell. And for those of you that feel like I'm delivering this message and I'm happy and like all is well, it's not. It's so many things. It's so many things. I actually even recorded a video before this just so I could help myself process some of my own shit before I sit and speak to you all. But that's what helps me in order to inevitably pass that along and offer that to alter the world. Get it? Offering, alter. Anywho, I am here but not here, and I appreciate you all. And thank you for listening and supporting. And as tumultuous as all of this has been, I am thankful. I am thankful. Because I realize how long I haven't been here, and it's good to be back. And so with that, I leave you all. I'll see you another space time, probably within the same time space.